Thanks. Welcome to the second ever innovative European Innovative Game Showcase. I'm Jon, this is Leia. It's really good to be back.
Yeah, we're happy to present you a fine selection of 9 hand-picked games chosen from more than 100 submissions this year. There are so many people experimenting with games all over Europe. And with 9 curators, we came to the selection of games we're presenting today, and we think that it represents the diversity of an emerging culture.
So last year we had a great selection as well, and it's been super cool to see where these games go afterwards. Obviously we can't take any credit for it, but it was really amazing, for example, to see Sherida's Beyond Eyes like at the E3 at Xbox, and the Gang Beasts just posted this on Facebook yesterday. They're apparently doing a live action movie with, and Alighting Chorus, which was possibly my favorite from last year, was greenlit, and they're still working on it. It's going to come out and stuff. So really exciting stuff. I think we should just kick off today. Just a second. The first speaker is Henry Hoffman with Aboard the Lookinglass. Henry? Yes. There you go, Charlie. Cool.
Hello. How is everyone's GDC? Are they having a good time? Yeah? Good stuff. Can you hear me okay at the back? Sweet. Everything's going well so far? Cool. So I want to tell you a little bit about who I am. My name is Henry Hoffman. I'm a game developer from the UK, and I'm the creator of this game, Aboard the Lookinglass. So I worked on this project solo as an entry in the Indiecade and Leap Motion 3D Jam. The game jam ran for about a month, but I built this game in around 7 sort of full days of development. And playing as Alice, you explore a deserted vessel in the past, present, and the future. Your hands are portals to different times, allowing you to affect the environment in time-bending ways. As you progress, your vision of the future becomes increasingly bleak. I've put together a short video, like specifically for this showcase, to hopefully give you a better idea. So this is a world exclusive. Thanks. The game makes use of virtual reality, head tracking, and most importantly, hand tracking. I mounted the Leap Motion sort of hand tracking device onto an Oculus Rift, and then used this to map the player's hands in real time. Here you can see an image of the Oculus Rift with the Leap Motion. And this is just a video from a YouTuber called DRaz2, and this is just showing how you can interact with the game world. You can see he's wearing the Oculus Rift with the Leap Motion. His left hand is picked up as the past, and his right hand is picked up as the future. So not content with replicating the real world in VR, I wanted to explore experiences which have been previously impossible. I spent a long time looking at my hands in the real world to try and figure out how they could be utilized in different ways. After a while, I was looking at my hands and I started to zone out, and I realized that I was looking through my hands. And this is when my mind started thinking that maybe I could make the hands sort of windows to a different time, or portals to a different time. And that's really where the core idea was conceptualized, like zoning out and looking at my hands. So after prototyping the basic mechanic, there was this magic moment where I was looking through my hands and I could see this different world for the first time, and it felt like quite possibly this might have been the first time someone has experienced looking through their own hands. And to me, that was pretty weird. And the core mechanic involves interacting with the same space across the past, present, and future simultaneously. For example, there may be a switch in the present which is damaged, but the very fact that it's a switch and it's there, you can kind of assume that at some point it was working. So if you look into the past, you can then press that switch, and that will open a door in the present. And there's numerous mechanics that have been born out of this premise, including dropping obstacles into different times, finding clues that don't exist in the present, and transferring and tracing energy sources across time. Those videos, they stopped playing, did they? And so an interesting byproduct of this mechanic is the ability to uncover contextual narrative very naturally. This is something I didn't even anticipate. In most traditional games, you play through the present. Effective environmental designers ground that present with artifacts from the past. So old newspapers, burnt out cars, bloodstains, abandoned buildings. They exist to convince the player that there existed a time before their involvement. Suddenly, without realizing, I'd given myself a very powerful tool. By allowing the player to explore these environments across 3 different times, they could piece together a sequence of events. They could look at a beautiful, healthy planet in the present and see in the future it's a mess of fire and rock. Now they know that at some point between now and then, a titanic, destructive event occurred. This adds a tremendous amount of uncertainty, and players often told me that they were scared to progress because they knew that these events were going to unfold at some point. And I struggle, really, with the concept of innovation. When I started the project, I'm like, yeah, this is new. This is something that hasn't been done before. This is cool. And then throughout the duration of the project, that sort of magic is lost. And I think that I'm almost box ticking, like I'm fulfilling some sort of innovation criteria that I've developed myself. But what really excites me is those innovating within conventions which have existed for tens or thousands of years. Those innovating with play, emotion, and narrative. Many of whom I'm lucky enough to share a stage with today. You guys aren't just shaping the future, you're redefining them. And, well, the future of games, you're redefining them. And for that, I thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Henry. Next up, we have Tim Garbos with a game that is in progress. It's also called Progress. It's a collaboration between Tim Garbos, Martin Kvalle, and Joel Nystrom. And let's hear it for Tim.
Does this one work? Yep. Okay. Hello, my name is Tim Garbos. Today I think I'm here on a Copenhagen Game Collective, but I make a lot of different things. I made a game called Progress, and about an hour ago we tried to run it live because that was my plan in here. It didn't work. The tech didn't work. So now we have a video instead, and I'm just going to be pretending I played live while explaining some stuff. Just bear with me. I'm playing the game live.
3, 2, 1.
Can we get the picture up here, maybe? Guys? From the computer? No?
Nope.
The other computer? Windows key P.
Yeah, this is Mac.
Is it up?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so I made this game Progress, and it basically looks like this, the whole game. It's a progress bar, and sometimes a word, sometimes a couple of words. And the whole point of the game is getting this progress bar from around here and over till this end. Ooh. And it's all about this very, very simple thing. Just a word on the screen, and you do something. It's some sort of instruction. It can be some sort of hint, a clue. This one is quite obvious. You just have to touch it. And I tried all sort of different ways to interact with this thing. You can do touch, you can do all sorts of things, but it's really just about getting this progress bar from one end to the other. So this one I'm just going to show. Slide it here. And you can do all sort of things with touch. You can go from A to B. But you could also say counterclockwise, and people have to think for a little bit and then realize, But then at some point, people are stuck for a little bit. What the hell? And while developing this, it's not that, it's just a word. So I just made a level that progressed itself and just solved itself, and put it in there sometimes and changed the word. And then I just saw what people were doing. And if a lot of people were doing the same thing, like learn to walk, some people were trying to walk like this, but after a while they actually realized that they could actually interact with all sort of ways, and then they just figured out to do this. And it turned out to be pretty fun. So I kept that one in there. But when you do that, then at some point it's a bit too much of the same. So you want to do something that's more like, oh, this doesn't really work. Oh, maybe we should try this. So the device actually measures 11 touches. And that's a bit funny. And after people put their nose on it, they're pretty open to do whatever. So on a horse, they're going to be doing this. And then on a boat, yeah, sure, we get it. And because it's just 100 things, you could also just throw a rhythm game in there, and nobody really finds it not fitting in. And when was the last time you danced with your iPad? Except last year here on stage? So this one is just measuring some movement. And you can actually also tickle your iPad. Not that many people are doing it, but... just touching, make fun. And then after a while, okay, people start learning all sort of things that you can do with this iPad. You can do all sort of things. It also runs on the phone now. And then you put on like more crazy stuff, start building it up. But at the moment they see this one, everybody knows they have to do this. And you can also use a lot of input. This uses everything. So you can plug in the charger here, don't have it, and you can pull it out.
Oh. Oh. Ah. Oh.
But you can use the charger as input. It's fairly straightforward. And yeah, then you could do this. And it sort of continues, but I think you get the idea. You can do all sort of things. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim and Angel, for demoing Progress. Now it's time to progress to the next game. We have Malath, Abbas, and Tom de Mayo, who are working on a game called Killbox. It's also a collaboration between Malath, Tom, and Albert Elwin, who couldn't make it. It's a game that talks about a topic that's often been in the news, sometimes been in games, and this is their take on it.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So greetings from Dundee. We're two game designers based in Dundee. I'm Mal, and this is Tom. Not Albert. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it. And so, yeah, we're game developers based in Dundee. We formed our own studio about 3 years ago. And in a fairly short spell of time, we got known for doing some cool, edgy work in collaboration with arts organizations, cultural organizations, and we really this opened a lot of doors in terms of cool opportunities to do creative work. We were known for doing this project called Other, and this was nominated at IndieK 2013, and this was a collaboration between games and theatre, and this allowed us to it was an alternate reality sound game where the player would walk through the city and experience an amazing gothic horror soundscape. Since then, we've started our own collective. We're based in this cool space that's full of kind of hackers, designers, craft makers, which is really interesting for us as digital folks. And also for us, it's a cool space where we can kind of experiment, do game jams, and collaborate with interesting people. And in Dundee, we are lucky to have the Neon Digital Arts Festival, which attracts a whole host of interesting digital artists from worldwide. And just earlier this year, we had the chance to work with Joseph Delap, an American professor, artist, and activist, who's done some amazing work within games, primarily performance pieces within Quake and America's Army. His work is great. This is my favorite piece, which is your very own personal drone, which is, so very relevant to the project we're working on right now with Joseph, which is a prototype at the moment. And let Tom talk about Killbox.
Right, so can you hear me okay? Killbox is about the use of technology to transform and extend political and military power and the abstraction of killing through virtualization. So why are we making a game about this? In some ways, war and killing is already in the process of being gamified. There are some obvious parallels in the mediation of games and electronic warfare. And we find this kind of disturbing and relevant, and we think that games are a really good place to address this. So how do you make a game about something about drone warfare? Well, for us, we decided that Killbox was going to be a two-player game. We wanted multiple perspectives on this. In the first player, you're a pilot. It's a highly controlled, linear experience. You're disconnected from the situation by thousands of miles, virtual miles, and a live camera feed. And by using familiar game devices like tutorializations and positive feedback loops, we want to show players how easy it can be to follow orders, to be convinced to follow orders, and carry out, pull the trigger in the right environment, essentially. The second player is completely different. It's you play a villager in North Pakistan. Obviously, we don't know what it's like living out there, and we've abstracted the graphics as much as possible. But we do know that the life of normal people is very far from the regimented life of the structure of the military. So in this game, the player is free to do what they want, to explore and interact however they choose. There's no goals. It's just pleasant and intriguing exploration and fun. But there is the constant sound of the drone in the background, which reminds you that at some point these two very different worlds are going to collide. And we're just going to show you a video, which is, someone told me how to do this a minute ago. Is it that?
Yeah.
Double click.
Falcon 556, left break approved. Trooper 613, taxi caution 124, right horse river 124, left contact status 362.6. 613.
So clearly it doesn't show you very much about the game, but I think it gives you an idea of the vibe that we're, I guess, going for, which is pretty grim. But really, we're not here to judge, and we're not saying that either one of these situations is good or bad. We are highlighting, I guess, and presenting two completely different realities, which are obviously incredibly connected, and we're doing it in a way which we think only games and interactive art can do. So Drone is going to be presented to play online. We're going to install it in galleries. It's going to be installed in galleries, and we'll be playing at festivals as well in 2016, right? Yep. Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom and Mel. Next up, we have a very special presentation by Trine Leier and Lisa Sackstrup. And the game is Cosmic Top Secret, so I can't really talk about it. You good to go? You know
yes,
what to do?
we're good to go. I think so. Okay. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Thanks for inviting us. Our talk is called Designing Documentary. Recently, not that long ago, it was revealed in the news that the Bishop of Copenhagen used to work for the Danish Intelligence Service. He was part of a gray zone department. And without knowing it, he was actually also the colleague of T's dad, who maybe was spying on my mom, who was a communist in the making. So often it strikes us that reality beats our wildest imaginations. And we are here to tell you about our documentary game, Cosmic Top Secret. It's a story about T, who wants to know what her father did for the Danish Intelligence Service during the Cold War. And as a backdrop, Director T will be playing there in the first level, and I'm Lisa Sackstrup, I'm producing. As most people, T, actually the director, grew up in what she thought was an ordinary family with a military officer dad and a housewife mom taking good care of her. In her childhood, her dad was absent for long periods of time. Once he told her he had traveled to a fortress far away underground to do calculations on Denmark's first computer desk. And it was not until she was a grown-up that these explanations came back to her. She found a dossier stamped Cosmic Top Secret in his office, and she began to wonder if there was a connection to his mysterious disappearances and the dossier. What did he actually work on? You will find out that Dad used to work with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and that Mom also worked for the intelligence service. She was, among other things, teaching the Danish Queen judo in the women's auxiliary force. You will also learn that the biggest secrets was not kept on files and microfilm, but was actually kept in the family. And you will dive into Cold War archives, prospecting the time and personal story by exposing myths and anecdotes from the intelligence service, like Cross's dump about communist leader Khrushchev, who went to Denmark in 1964. And rumors were that he was ill, and therefore there was pipes installed into his hotel, to his toilet in his hotel room to collect stool samples for analyzing. And it turned out he wasn't ill at all. It's also the stories about the unlucky tourists and Red Owl operations and many, many more. In the first level, you play T, who's following in the footsteps of Dad. On the way, you realize that T-Dad is actually ill, and time is running out if you want to know about the truth. And also, time might be right to grow up and, for example, learn to drive the car, as Dad has already paid for your driver's license. The story fell into place when reality hit us. How could the emotional development of the protagonist be experienced in both story and gameplay? 2 years ago, T went orienteering with Dad. After the run, there was a training in throwing hand grenades. Dad slips while throwing his last grenade, and he actually hurts himself really, really bad. And this was, of course, bad for Dad, but it was really good for the story. Because suddenly the structure of a coming-of-age story fell into place, and the development of controls with look and feel of an insecure woman developing into an independent person sort of seemed much closer. To us, the importance of developing gameplay together with story is crucial. The dimension that the documentary brings to the experience is what we aim for. You'll probably never meet a game from us about dads shooting drones down to protect daughters, but now I'm a little unsure when having seen the presentation before. Or American tourists asking if there are still living Vikings in Denmark. It's actually happening. There's seals turning up on the highways. But what these stories tell us is, this is all headlines I found in the papers today. And I must admit that these stories instantly generate a lot of questions only due to the fact they are actually happening. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I think it's a much bigger game than what we saw now as well. It has a lot more environments that I've seen. But next up we have Ivan Notaros with his project called Scanner. Did I say that right? Notaros? Yes? Oh, great. Cool. Yeah, he's going to, I think, teach us a new way to see things. Or maybe that's just my interpretation. Are you good?
Yes. Let's hear it for Ivan. Hi. I'm just going to play the video because it's much easier to explain through if you see the gameplay. So the game is called Scanner. Okay. Well, the game is basically about you're playing as a robot, as a first-generation sentient robot that's been helping people for a long time. But suddenly, after other versions of robots have appeared, you have basically been obsolete and put to storage. Hundreds of years later, you are suddenly powered up, and you find out that there is no humanity left anymore, and you're trying to find out what exactly happened. So the game is sort of puzzle and exploration. What's going on is that you don't have real vision because you're the first version. You only can cast like 3D points in space, similar to 3D scanning. So how did it start? I started playing with this photo scanning thing. It's basically like poor man's 3D scanning, where instead of actually using the device for capturing points in space, you take photos, and then from photos you can reconstruct 3D spaces. So I just experimented some buildings, and there I made some cool profile pictures as well. But it was not until I saw this, and it's a photo from just a random photo I stumbled upon searching for cloud points. And I noticed that, similar to light, laser scans cast these shadows, and you can see what space is there. But what's interesting is that opaque objects actually don't block the points. You still see them. So if you're behind a wall, you will still see 3D points in space, in another room, for example. The other thing that I was very interested in was the ability to capture the past, because when you scan the space, you're basically capturing that moment of space. So if something is moving, similarly to this effect in photography, you can capture things when they move. So here you can see some kind of a drone passing, not the drone that we saw, but more like a turret on wheels. So you can see that I have snapped multiple times with the scanner, and you can see multiple positions in past, basically. This drone has moved away, but still you can see its position in past, and you can figure out where it's moving. This is also if you just play with scanning, and here also you can see the same drone passing through time, captured as 3D points. And what was really interesting for me was, because of that background in photo scanning, I thought about what if you use actually real spaces in the game. And it's really good because I don't need textures, I don't need very precise 3D models, because you just need to make it be able to scan inside the game. So this is how photo scanning looks. And in the game, you can see the example of the 3D points being cast on the objects. So that's it. I'm experimenting a lot. This is like a game that's 10% in production. So I skip from project to project, and I rarely finish things. And it's amazing that I've been selected to present here, because it's good to when people even that are not finishing the game are selected and have a chance to present. So thank you.
So thanks, Ivan. Next game is FriendShapes from SFB Games. It's a co-op local multiplayer game about two friends. And SFB Games consists of two brothers, those guys based in London. I think you make games together since 2002.
Yep. Yeah, that's us.
That's you.
Hello everyone, I'm Tom, and this is my brother Adam, and we are SFB Games. We've been making games together for the last 13 years, over 30 in total. But since forming SFB Games about 3 years ago, we've made a game called Haunt the House Terror Town, which is on iOS, Android, and Steam, and another game called Detective Grimoire, which is also on iOS, Android, and Steam. I personally have made this little sound tool that some of you may have used, and more recently, another sound tool that you may also have used. And when he's not making games, Adam makes comics. Most recently, we've been working on a game called Notaros, which is about digging up dinosaur bones and throwing them at eggs. But now we're working on a new project.
Sure. So FriendShapes started out as a prototype from a one-day game jam that Tom and I had by ourselves. Do you want to get the trailer ready?
Sure.
It's a pretty unique concept for a 1 to 2 player puzzle game. So let's watch the trailer.
So as you can see, FriendShapes is a game primarily about two players cutting each other into interesting shapes in order to solve puzzles. It's achieved pretty simply. Both players are just bitmaps, which then draw over each other and then thresholded to get rid of the bits that overlap. When that happens, then every time you cut, there's a simple marching squares algorithm that figures out the physics shape and turns it into convex physics shapes. In the first prototype we had, the players would always collide with each other apart from the bodies, which always, of course, need to overlap. But it turns out that walking past each other is pretty important in this game. So now, other than being able to stand on each other's heads, you can absolutely pass through each other in any way. I needed a quick and easy trick to show what the overlap area was, and I ended up just doing a blend mode difference between the red and the yellow.
It's a pretty lucky coincidence because those are my three favorite colors. I use them in pretty much every project, as you could see this by some evidence here. But what's interesting about the visuals of this game is that the character design is the game design. The shapes you see here are the optimal shapes for cutting out any possible shape you could think of using the two characters. They can both rotate, and when they both rotate to specific angles, you really can cut anything you can imagine. And what's really interesting is once you've cut one of the characters, then that new shape gives you a new cutting tool and so on, and you really can make any shape you could possibly imagine.
So right now, FriendShapes is about 8 working days old, and whilst we're planning to build out a full single-player campaign, we're focusing mostly on the co-op at the moment. It's built in Flash, but we're going to port it quite soon to either Unity or HAX OpenFL, because we think that it's going to be really at home on a console where local multiplayer just works a lot better. And we have a ton of ideas for different local multiplayer levels. If you want to have a go at the game, I am going to be around today and tomorrow. I have it with me and some controllers, so just come say hi. Thank you.
So next game is called Vignettes by Paul Clarissou and Armel Gibson. And I just want to say that this game is about looking at things from different perspectives.
So yeah, hi, I'll be talking a bit about vignettes. So first, my name is Armel Gibson, and I'm working with a guy named Paul Clarissou. We both are from the north of France and from a game collective called Klondike. So what is Vignette about? We like to describe it as a narrative game without any text, which means no dialogues, no description, nothing. The only thing you will have on the screen will be 3D models of objects from your daily life. And you'll be able to do two things to those models. You can tap them to interact with them, or you can drag your finger around to make them rotate. And as they rotate, as you rotate an object, if the shape is drawing on the screen, if it's similar to the shape of another object, it will change from the first to the second one, allowing you to kind of move from one object to the other. As you can see here, we are physically moving from the TV to the framed picture. As you can see, the transitions are really seamless. Again, you don't need to press anything or activate anything. Just drag your finger and make the object rotate. And it will allow you to move in this kind of simulated space of object. Like you can go from the TV to the fridge to the door to going outside. But sometimes you will want to go into a specific direction the game isn't pushing you towards. And to do so, you will have to resolve puzzles. So I'm going to show you one of the first puzzles of the game, one of the easy ones, actually. OK, so at some point, you will stumble upon this lamp. And as you rotate it and look at the lamp from below, you can see it's kind of a familiar shape. And maybe it should change to something, but it's not. So what you can do is try to look at it from the other side, and it will change into a light bulb. Now you have two choices. You can continue your journey onwards to a new object, or you can try to tap the light bulb, which will turn the light off. Now, from there, if you come back to the lamp, the light is off, so the shading change. So now you can look at it from below and move into a new direction. In that case, going to sleep, ending your day. So now you understand what the game, the basic mechanics of the game, but what is the bigger picture here? Vignettes is a game about finding new beauty in your surrounding, about looking at your daily life from a new perspective, both literally by rotating the object around, and metaphorically by trying to kind of escape the daily grind and finding new life paths. One thing we are really focusing on is making the game open to everyone. Like, you can try to play the game and unlock all the puzzles and see all the branching story. But you can also play the game just chilling around, rotating stuff, and going where it's leading you. We won't have any score. We won't have any achievements. We won't have any progress walls. So yeah, you can just take the game and chill with it. To conclude, I will show you a little video we made for this presentation. Since it's a really visual game, I hope it will help you understand what it's about. Yes, thanks.
The next game is presented by Alex Fleetwood. It's called...
George.
Oh, really? I'm sorry, George.
My bad. He's cosplaying as George, but it's actually Alex. George Buchanan.
So it's George Fleetwood. About Fleetwood is right, yeah? So it's called Fabulous Beasts. I was lucky enough to give it a try during coffee break outside, and I'm really happy to have a physical game here on stage today. So I hope you all see it well, but I think it should be up enough for that.
Hey, I'm having to stand over here because I've got physical things that I didn't want to balance. So hi, I'm George Buchanan. I'm presenting Fabulous Beasts. So it's this game. This is the game. It runs on a platform, and it also runs on an iPad here. So the way the game works is you take a block. Oh, that's fine. So yeah, the way the game works is you take a block and you scan it on the platform and it appears, and then you place it on. So it's a two-player game, so you alternate placing blocks onto this platform, scanning them and placing them. And the game continues on with each of you taking turns to place a block on the tower until the tower falls over, at which point the game ends. So each time you scan the block, it gets registered by the iPad, and you make a move in a digital board game.
Can you hold it up a little? Is it right? Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
It's the thing. No?
Just tell me when.
You have to be closer. Just tell Leo when to go next.
Okay. Advance. So every time you go forwards in this digital board game. So by placing on this piece, you've introduced a small animal into the world. By placing on this piece, you've introduced a slightly larger animal. By placing these blocks, you've leveled up these animals. By placing this block, you've allowed an animal to migrate. So your aim is to create a world that is as full of your creatures as possible, more full than your rival sibling god is able to pack the world full of. And so we're able to do kind of fun stuff with this. So this block is a cross block, which allows you to take, for example, an eagle, and then you can cross it with a fox, if the fox was in the world. And you can create a freegle, a fox-eagle hybrid, which exists in the world. And, you know, like that's a thing that can exist in the world. So this digital board game, I've not explained the full details of it. It's kind of a kind of deep thing, but the game exists in the kind of tension between managing to place blocks that you think you can actually balance up on this tower, and a block that will help you out in this digital board game. So you've got this kind of tension, and a thing I really love in the game is when you're staring at the iPad and you're like, right, yes, this is my strategic masterstroke. If only I just place this block on top, then I'm not going to be able to do that, am I? Okay, fine. So in the process of designing it, I'm just going to go over a couple of kind of cool design bits in this. Our process of designing it, we spent 4 months developing this from first thing, and it was a process we were co-designing it with children. So there were a bunch of children who were part of the process and who we got to play test it with and suggested ideas from it. And we learned a couple of things from these kids. Like, they picked it up much faster than adults. Adults want to know what all of the things do before they're happy to start playing it, whereas kids are just like, okay, cool, yeah, I'm happy to do this, and kind of happy to take it one step at a time. And they're super happy just moving between interacting with the physical game and the digital game and the kind of imaginative game that the cross blocks produce. And the other thing is, obviously, that different kids are able to get different things out of it. Small children are happy just stacking stuff up, and then slightly older ones get more, as they get older, they're more and more able to get into the kind of digital board game kind of strategy side of it. Another design feature I'm going to call out is, this is a game that's designed to be played like sitting at a table, facing across from somebody. When you're playing it, unlike a lot of video games where you're playing it co-op, you're both putting attention on the screen. You're kind of barely conscious of the person in the same room. You're interacting with them, but you're interacting through the screen. In this, you're interacting with people directly. You're both paying attention to this object. You're both paying attention to the screen. Your attention is on each other, and it's kind of a kind of fluid social experience, which I think is a lovely thing. So, if you can skip ahead a few slides. So, what's next for the game? We made this game at the beginning of the year. It seemed to go fairly well. So we're forming a company to take it on. It's me, Alex Fleetwood, Lyle McCarthy, Tim Burrell-Soward, and Chris Shaw. We're forming a company. So we've had a bunch of experience making these kind of digital, physical hybrid games. We've made a bunch of kind of really cool stuff. But a kind of problem you always have with making these games is you make them and you make a single set at great expense and problems. And it's great, and you show it at conferences, and it's really exciting, and then kind of what happens next. So our aim with this game is we're now trying to research and trying to do the development and trying to work out how to design it so that it can be manufactured, so that we can actually produce thousands of copies of this, and how we can actually ship it to consumers as an actual physical thing, as a game. And I think we might be the first kind of indie studio to try to take this kind of actually making hardware and selling it to people. And that's kind of a hugely exciting thing, so I hope you'll wish us luck, because it's also really difficult. Thank you, that's it.
Thank you, George. Next presenters are We Are Muesli, Claudia and Matteo from Italy. Very happy that you're here, big fan. Yeah, and you describe yourself as unconventional storytellers, so I give the stage for you to tell a story.
Can you actually see me? Because I'm really short. Sorry. We are Claudia and Matteo from We Are Muesli, and we are an indie studio based in Milan. So we make narrative games. We've been making games, especially narrative ones, for a couple of years now. And our previous and current work includes things like, I don't know, maybe some of you knows it, Cave Cave Deus Videt, which is Latin for Beware God Sees. It's Geronimus Bosch-inspired visual novel. And 20 Mesi, which is Italian for 20 months. It's a game about Italian resistance against Nazi fascism. And the interactive ballad, The Great Palermo, about Sicilian street food and culture. But the game we are presenting today, it's called We'll Meet Again. And it's a different story. And it's a 2P game, a cooperative puzzle novel. We prototyped it at the Global Game Jam 2015, last year, at the Politecnico of Milan. And as you may remember, this year theme was the question, what do we do now? Which inspired us in making a game based on three main concepts. First of all, due to the plural, we thought about a game related to interdependence, mutual cooperation and collaboration between players. Secondly, as it was a question, we worked on the word communication, not between machines, but verbal communication between human beings, exchanging information about what's going on. And then lastly, the idea of a journey inspired by our interest in lucid dreams, and the weird idea that you can somehow share oniric experiences with someone else, maybe even meet someone inside the same dream. So that's what inspired us in making the game called We'll Meet Again, like the old romantic song by Vera Lynn, from which we took the title from. We just made a video about it, so we'd love to share it with you. And we want to thank the people that helped us to make the video, Stefano Torraca and Ramblejacks Games, Matteo Marzorati, for it. So this is the video of our little trailer.
So yeah, the beautiful music in the video was made by our friend Alessandro Coronas. Go check all his stuff at his Bandcamp here, and Alessandro is now collaborating with us on the game's further development. So as the video says, side A sees, side B listens. Oh, can I? Okay, thank you. And both sides talk to each other as if they were lost inside two separate yet somehow connected dreams. The two players have to talk to each other and share hints about what's going on their respective screens or headphones in order to solve a series of puzzles. So side A player has visual clues on our screens, while side B players has to browse through a collection of vinyls with different labels producing different sounds. And as we said, the puzzles are interdependent. So basically, the visuals on side A contain a possible solution for the audio puzzle on side B and vice versa. So it's up to the players to positively communicate with each other in order to figure out the solution, especially because from a technical standpoint, the two sides in the prototype that we made with a usually strictly single-player tool like the visual novel engine RamPy, the two sides are two different executables. So like a game which has been, like if the game has been broken in half and now counts on the people in order to start making sense again. Or, as the system requirements state, no connection is required except for human verbal communication. So we've been showcasing the prototype at a few events so far, like Game Happens last June in Genoa. It was great to see diverse people, sometimes friends, sometimes strangers, interacting with each other in surprising ways. And it definitely felt like a human experience, which is basically our main goal with this project. We're now working on a full version for 2016, mobile porting included, and who knows, maybe even a very special physical version bringing together a digital side A with a real phonograph with real vinyls on side B. And the prototype is playable from our itch.io page. And these are our contacts. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was it already, the European Innovative Game Showcase 2015. Thank you all for coming. I have to thank a few people who helped to make this all possible, which are our awesome curators, John Paulson, Simon Carlis, Lau Kosgaard, Kitty Kallis, Marie Fulston, Zoraida Buter, Damir Verpi, and thank you, Jon, of course.
And thank you, Leah.
And yeah, if you liked it, come back again next year, spread the word, and if you experiment with games yourself, please submit your games here. And
tell your friends to submit more games. Maybe we'll get a bigger room one day and expand 5 hours long. So, okay.
Exactly. So bye, everybody, and thanks.